Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 3265 Northeast Lincoln Street here in Hillsboro. We are located at the front of the house here, and I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the home. We are just barely to the left of the front doorway. There's your front door, here's your clean out. Sits right in front of, like smack dab, right in the middle of this first pane here, this window to the left of the front door. Right side pane lines right up with it should you lose track of this thing. Got a 4-inch ABS clean out. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We're going to introduce some water to the line here in just a moment. We're getting in here right after a home inspection's finished up, so plenty of water's gone down this thing. And we are swapping over to cast iron right as we drop in here, also 4-inch diameter. Little tiny bit of a lip on that transition joint there, but looks pretty subtle. We'll give it another look over here in a minute when we pull back. We are getting a little bit, there's a few spots in the cast iron there. We've got what almost looks like a little bit of channeling taking place. Sometimes you just get debris ridges. There is also a fair amount of debris in the flow line. My concern is that underneath that you may have channeling taking place. So for instance, if this were plastic pipe, for instance, and you got a ridge going down the middle of it, wouldn't be terribly suspect. Because a lot of times what you get is the water will carve out a spot right down the middle of it, and it explains it. In cast iron, if cast iron exists for long enough, the end result is that the flow line at some point down the road, if it's in the ground long enough, the flow line will typically rot out. The beginning stages of that we call channeling. Troughing is another term used. That's where the metal is eaten slowly but surely away. And you get a groove that forms in the middle of the pipe before eventually perforating through. So my camera thus far has been going over a very consistent, thick layer of debris. And what that can be an indicator of, I mean, one, could just simply be debris buildup. Improper stuff may have gone down the line, wipes, flushable wipes, things like that, grease, which can create the appearance or the illusion of that's taking place. In other cases, if you do get a trough that forms, it creates a groove down the middle of the pipe that water and debris can get down into and stuck into. It creates a spot where things can grip and hold on. So my concern here is that you may have channeling taking place. So what I recommend in circumstances like this is cleaning the line out, jetting it out thoroughly. I am having a heck of a time getting around this corner here. That might be as far as we can get here. It's just the line that keeps on going. Alright, finally made it. I think it's humongous. Anyway, that's the main connection right in front of us there. Alrighty, we'll start pulling back in here. Finally found this puppy. The reason it's so dang long, the line shoots all the way out to 33rd. It's crossing the entire width of the property to get out there. It almost backtracks on itself a little bit. It basically crosses, parallels the front of the house, moving from left to right. And then based on that locate, it almost cuts a little bit, kind of back towards the backyard area, and then straightens out. There are paint markings over there right now that you can see where the city's marked it, and the markings are on the money. It was a properly done city locate, which is nice to see. I often find that they're about 5 feet off, but that one was done well. And it's in green paint. You'll see that on the right side of the house there, or out near the road anyway. Just trying to figure out how they made this thing 100 feet long. Now it makes more sense. Alright, concrete pipe there is looking nice. Drained off nicely. It's the cast iron that I'm a little more concerned about. There's quite a bit of sludge and buildup in the flow line. And there's some spots back towards the beginning of the line where we had some decent divots in the flow line. Again, cast iron can be completely healthy. It may very well just be buildup in the flow line. And when that water travels through that stuff and carves a pathway through it, it can create and kind of mimic the look of what channeling pipe looks like. So I don't want to jump straight to the pipe is done until it's cleaned out. And this line could use some cleaning. There's a fair amount of sludge buildup and debris buildup in general. That right there, though, that set of turns we just went through, that says the line kind of cuts back toward the backyard area. Kind of does a little bit of a zig and a zag as it gets past the front right corner of the house. I'll put a little diagram on the report that it's a rough diagram, not a schematic, but it'll give you kind of an idea. Anyway, I'm going to recommend jetting on the line. That needs to be done in conjunction with a camera. Hit me up. I work very closely with some companies that are very good at jetting, but we always do it in conjunction with a camera. The importance of doing that is, one, to check the work, make sure everything was cleaned out thoroughly, but two, cast, and this actually does not show a lot of rust scale, which is a promising thing. Usually when you start getting channeled pipe, you get very thick layers of scale buildup, but inevitably there is always going to be some amount of rust layer on the inside of cast iron. What you don't want to do is leave piles of rust behind. That's the importance of running that jetter with a camera along with it, is to ensure none of that stuff gets left behind. But my camera's actually scraped a bit of this stuff out. I think all said and done here, I think the line is going to be okay. I'm not seeing a lot of heavy, as we came back out, my camera knocked some of that junk loose. I'm not seeing the same depth into those divots that we did on the way out there. So I would still recommend cleaning on the line, but from what I can see her pulling back, the pipe bottom there does appear to be intact. From what I can see, there's still some sludge buildup in some spots that I can't see, but usually, even with that, typically speaking, you're still going to see some level of depth into that troughing if it's there. So I'd like to see it jetted out and re-scoped. Beyond that, I'm feeling a lot better about this line coming back out of it than going away from it. So, and if you are new to home ownership, cast iron and concrete both naturally have a little bit rougher texture to them. It's not a forgiving pipe product as it relates to things like wipes and paper towels. You want to keep it to toilet paper only. Ideally, you fold it, don't ball it up. But your tougher, wipes, flushable wipes, paper towels, stuff that is improper should not go down the line. You really want to avoid on these older lines. They snag up very, very easily. The other thing you want to avoid is grease. Assuming the pipe bottom's in good shape here, you want to keep grease and cooking oil out of the line. It's even more important on cast iron because it builds up like it does in any other line. The difference is cast iron is not chemically stable like plastic pipe is. And so it can trap acids and things like that underneath it, and it can prematurely eat the pipe bottom and wear it out. So it's one of those things you can do to help extend the life of your cast iron. And then any older pipe products like this, especially a line this lengthy, that's going this far out of its way, running under a lot of concrete, behooves you to re-scope periodically and monitor the line for things like the joints wearing out and or channeling, troughing, pipe rotting. You don't want a line like this to completely wear out. Nowadays, with trenchless repair systems, you could update this line under the right conditions without digging hardly a single hole. And a line like this, you might have to add in another clean out because of how long and convoluted it is. But you could avoid, in most cases, a big trench job down the road. So anyway, recommend jetting and a rescope just to make sure that the flow line looks like it's all intact, and that will also improve flow, getting that sludge out of there. And then after that, assuming the line's in good shape, I'd rescope it every 2 years until it's ready for update. That will save, if you can do it trenchlessly. Again, this is assuming everything's in good shape. This is looking down the road a little ways. That will save a gargantuan amount of money when it comes time to update. This crosses the entire width of the driveway, also goes all the way out into the road. A lot of concrete to deal with there. You don't want to have to mess with at that point in time. So